Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Roberts. Politicians in Greenland are condemning plans made by American officials to visit the island this week. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance announced he'll be joining his wife and Donald Trump's national security advisor for an upcoming visit to Greenland. A spokesperson for the U.S. National Security Council says it's an opportunity to build partnerships which respect Greenland's self-determination and advance economic cooperation. But Greenland's outgoing prime minister called the plans aggressive. The trips have raised concerns amongst Greenlanders that are similar to those expressed by Canadians in recent months. Paul Hunter explains.
Among the most remote places on Earth, in Greenland, that giant, mostly frozen island and neighbor to Canada's north, they now wonder ever more, what is Donald Trump truly up to?
They're calling us, we're not calling them. And we were invited over there.
Just a friendly visit, says the U.S. president, about a top-level trip to Greenland this week by senior U.S. officials. The whole thing has Greenland on edge, with Trump regularly suggesting he wants to annex all of it, and Greenland's outgoing prime minister slamming the U.S. visit as a highly aggressive provocation. Says Trump,
and I think Greenland's going to be something that maybe is in our future. I think it's important. It's important from the standpoint of international security.
Trump has often cited security as driving his interest, with Greenland buffering Russia, likely too its presumed underground mineral wealth. But Trump's suggestions have sparked anti-U.S. demonstrations and a singular, blunt message: Greenland is not for sale. Sound familiar? As countless Canadians push back against Trump's suggestion it become the 51st state, Greenlanders, long aware of Trump's interest in them, are now confronted by this visit and that fraught question: does this mean Trump's serious about Greenland? Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
American intelligence officials are attending congressional hearings this week to answer questions about threats facing the United States. Today's hearing came a day after a magazine reported that top national security officials had accidentally included a journalist on a group chat about upcoming military strikes in Yemen. Democrats have slammed the Trump administration over the incident, but American intelligence officials have denied there was any classified information in the chat. Richard Madden has that story.
There was no classified information, as I understand it.
President Donald Trump dismissing the perceived security breach and attacking the journalist who exposed it.
The guy's a total sleazebag.
Trump responding as his top intelligence officials faced a grilling before lawmakers for using a third-party messaging app to discuss their secret war plans for Yemen and mistakenly including the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic magazine to their group chat, where the Vice President, Secretary of State, and Secretary of Defense reportedly texted details about weapons, targets, and timing of airstrikes against Houthi rebels.
So you were the John Ratcliffe on that chat?
I was.
CIA Director John Ratcliffe confirmed the group text was authentic, but tried to downplay the fiasco when pressed.
My communications, to be clear, in a signal message group were entirely permissible and lawful and did not include classified information.
Well, we will make that determination, because if it's not classified, share the text with the committee.
But the reporter who was on that group chat says that's not true, adding the defense secretary texted specific details of his war plans before launching the airstrikes. He chose not to publish it for national security reasons, but now says he'll post an updated story soon.
He was texting attack plans, when targets were going to be targeted, how they were going to be targeted, who was at the targets.
Now Democrats call it sloppy, incompetent, and accuse Republicans of hypocrisy, a party that sounded the alarms of a massive security breach when former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton once used a private email server. Richard Madden, CBC News, Washington.
A proposed national park in the Peel River Watershed is being studied for feasibility. The Gwich'in Tribal Council has sought protections for this watershed for decades. Parks Canada says comments received during the public consultation phase were largely supportive. Avery Zingle reports.
Gwich'in Tribal Council says that its efforts to establish a national park in the Peel River Watershed are moving forward. It approached Parks Canada to turn 3,000 square kilometers of Tetlik-Gwinchik watershed into a national park. Now, Gwich'in Tribal Council, Natchitoches First Nation, Parks Canada, and the Yukon government are studying if that is feasible. Natchitoches First Nation Chief Donna Hope says the public comment stage closed this month and there is support behind the park.
Our citizens have indicated support for this process in going into the feasibility to see what's possible in how we uphold those agreements in support of the Gwich'in ask, I guess, for the proposal to develop this into a national park.
She says a park would build on interim protections laid out in the 2019 Peel Land Use Plan. Hope says that the prospect of a park offers some positivity after witnessing destruction of Natchitoches lands from a heap leach failure at Eagle Gold Mine. She says mineral staking would not be permitted in a national park.
With those protections, we know that the status quo of what the wilderness is will be maintained, which allows us the space to ensure that we are able to hold space for our language and culture in those areas for future generations to come.
Gwich'in Tribal Council Grand Chief Frederick Blake Jr. says that the porcupine caribou herd winters in Tetlik-Gwinchik before traveling on to their calving grounds in Alaska.
Our people took a big stand against any mining in this area, and this is a big first step into ensuring that this area is protected and for future generations.
Blake says that 400 mining claims have already been removed from the study area, and 20 more are expected to be removed in the coming months. Avery Zingle, CBC News, Yellowknife.
A new report sheds light on the state of the Yukon's economy and the challenges it faces. The Conference Board of Canada released a deep dive report into Yukon's labor market. It says the territory has a labor shortage due to an aging population. Immigration is a key solution, but the Yukon government recently paused the nominee program after federal allocation cuts. The report's lead author says that pause will have an impact on supporting the labor market, but it's not the only factor.
Housing, again, remained a really strong it was implicated quite a bit in that immigration piece as well as kind of the international accreditation of skills that are obtained outside of Canada. Yukon, in many kind of sort of different types of jobs, don't have the ability to recognize foreign credentials from within the territory. So new Canadians have to get kind of recognition from outside the territory and then apply within the territory, which really complicates the process.
Thompson says 28% of immigrants who have a post-secondary degree are working in jobs in the Yukon that don't require a university degree. That is higher than the national average of 23%. The government of Nunavut and the federal government are working on an agreement to extend Nunavut's non-insured health benefits. The Department of Health is calling on the federal government to fully fund the program and to reach an agreement before the current one expires at the end of the month. Nunavut's Minister of Health says the benefits are important.
It has evolved over the years, looking at the benefits that are being provided: medical travel, boarding homes, dentistry, optical or eye care. These are very important programs.
Indigenous Services Canada says it offered to renew the current agreement under the same terms and conditions. That agreement sees the federal government fully reimburse the benefits. The GN says it's continuing to work with the federal government on the issue, and no matter the outcome, Nunavut Inuit will not see a disruption in their access to non-insured health benefits. There are still concerns in Nunavut that vital programs for kids remain at risk of shutting down, despite the federal government's renewal of the Inuit Child First initiative. Earlier this month, the federal government allocated a further $121 million to fund the initiative for one more year. The initiative currently covers the Hamlet Food Voucher Program. The program provides $500 per child for groceries and another $250 for children under 4 for formula and diapers. People who administer the initiative in Nunavut are worried that the food vouchers won't be part of the program moving forward. Igloolik's food security coordinator says over 1,000 children in the hamlet access the program, and it would be devastating if it didn't continue.
The first month would be a struggle if we don't get another funding, as everyone started depending on it. And if we don't get the funding, it's going to be a bit hard for the community to get nutritious food.
The changes mean people now need to register each child for the program. Igloolik is running a community-wide drive this week to get everyone signed up. Indigenous Services Canada says it's still accepting new applications for the initiative and it's reviewing each one on a case-by-case basis. The government of Nunavut is getting over $30 million in federal funding for the territory's French and Inuktitut language services. It's part of a 4-year agreement between the GN and the federal government. More than $20 million will go towards Inuktitut language initiatives and over $13 to French. Funding will be used to support the delivery of French language communications and services by the GN and other organizations. It'll also go towards helping develop Inuktitut resources for students in kindergarten to grade 12. Earlier this year, the Nunavut Department of Education announced a new curriculum that focuses on preserving and revitalizing Inuktitut. Pauktutit has a new leader. Nikki Kamaksiu-Tiksak from Chesterfield Inlet is the new president and CEO of the National Inuit Women's Organization. She was the CEO and founder of Tungasugit Incorporated, Western Canada's first Inuit resource center based in Winnipeg. Pauktutit named her as their Inuk Woman of the Year in 2023. It describes Kamaksiu-Tiksak as an unwavering champion for Inuit with an unyielding love for her people. She replaces Rosemary Cooper. Pauktutit says Cooper has led instrumental change within the organization, including with calls for shelter and transitional housing for Inuit across the country. Cooper is retiring on Friday after 9 years with Pauktutit.
The claims period for 2 classes in the First Nations Child and Family Services and Jordan's Principal Settlement is now open.
First Nations children who were removed from their homes on reserve between April 1st, 1991 and March 31st, 2022, and their caregiving parents and caregiving grandparents can now submit a claim for compensation.
There are free supports to help you fill out your form.
And mental health and wellness supports if you need them.
Learn more and submit your claim at fnchildclaims.ca.
Forced and coerced sterilization of Indigenous people is still happening. The Survivors Circle for Reproductive Justice has supports available for Indigenous survivors. Join the National Registry and access up to $70,000 in healing support funds for individuals, families, and communities. The deadline to apply is March 31st. If you or someone you know has experienced forced and coerced sterilization, please call 1-877-386-0750 or visit reproductivejusticesurvivors.ca for more information.
If alcohol builds a wall around you, know this. We are here to help if you want us to. It's never too early or too late to ask for help with a drinking problem. Alcoholics Anonymous. There is a way out.
I was fighting losing battles with opponents disguised as friends, and coming home to a different fight that never ends. I saw no other choice. I had to leave a roof for the rain. But sometimes I wonder if there was a path with more to gain. Maybe the opportunities would have been better, and every day would take me further towards something greater.
To help create new paths for youth experiencing homelessness, the Home Depot Canada Foundation is committing $125 million by 2030.
You are finally here.
Come on! Just talk to me.
Woo!
All you have to do is look.
Nothing can stand in your way. Are you still nervous?
No, not anymore.
An intelligence report claiming that India meddled in the 2022 Conservative leadership race was the hot topic on day 3 of the federal election campaign. And it's raised questions about Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's continued refusal to get his security clearance. Olivia Stefanovich has the story.
There's no question Pierre Poilievre won the 2022 Conservative leadership race handily. But now new allegations have surfaced, suggesting India meddled in the contest.
Let's be honest. I won the leadership fair and square.
The allegations stem from reports that say Canada's spy watchdog learned Indian proxies raised money and organized within the South Asian community for Poilievre, though there's no evidence Poilievre and his team were aware.
I'm glad that the Liberals put this attack out today. Really glad. Because there's something that's really been worrying me.
Switching from defense to offense, Poilievre swung back, accusing Liberal leader Mark Carney of holding secret meetings with the Chinese central bank.
How is he ever going to stand up to foreign interference?
A claim Carney's team dismissed as a distraction.
I find it beyond baffling. I find it downright irresponsible.
Both Carney and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh say Poilievre would have known about the alleged meddling in his leadership campaign if he had his national security clearance.
That to me disqualifies you as a prime minister candidate. It's not someone that we can trust to stand up to foreign interference.
The foreign interference inquiry the Conservatives called for recommended all federal leaders seek top security clearance.
What I will not do is commit to the oath of secrecy that the Liberals want to impose on me.
I've never thought that that was a credible statement. There is no good reason for that belief.
Poilievre had national security clearance before when he served as a cabinet minister under former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. He says he won't seek it again unless he wins the next federal election. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
From bumper stickers to boycotting Tesla vehicles, the anti-Elon Musk movement has become the unofficial clarion call for protest against the Trump administration. The grassroots movement has now spilled over into Canada, and it's raising questions about what impact it could have on our country's federal election. Katie Nicholson reports.
Never 51, frig off.
On a cold Ontario morning, Alyssa Getz is getting fired up for a Tesla takedown event.
Canada has a voice, not for sale.
Getz has never organized a political protest in her life.
I was just feeling so overwhelmed with anxiety, and I needed to put that into action in some ways.
The Tesla takedown movement began in the U.S. as a way for Americans to protest federal cuts made by Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency and the Trump administration. Now it's spread across the border with protests in Canadian cities. Like in the U.S., vandals have also targeted Tesla dealerships. More than 80 vehicles damaged in Hamilton. This group, fairly peaceful but passionate, and more motivated heading into this federal election.
I've never been too political before.
Before now?
Before now, yeah.
What has changed for you? Like, why do you feel more galvanized this election?
Well, I feel there is a threat to our country, both economically and potentially in terms of sovereignty.
Others see parallels with the growing divide in the U.S.
Tesla takedown is a reflection of that kind of division spreading into Canada, and I think it will have an influence on how our federal election goes.
It's a bit difficult to tell at this point how it is going to impact the election.
Professor Howard Ramos says Tesla takedown protests here serve as a reminder of the politics south of the border.
I can imagine that different parties, in particular the Liberals, will try and make as many linkages as they can to Musk and Trump with the Conservatives in Canada.
But for Alyssa Getz, this movement is part of a greater political awakening.
People are deciding to do more research and involve themselves a little bit more in politics because of what's happening in America, and I think that's what should happen.
An American protest inspiring at least one Canadian voter. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Oakville, Ontario.
A musician and entrepreneur created a song-catching circle in BC's South Okanagan. She says it's a way for people in her community to come together amid turbulent times. Kimberly Davidson has more from Summerland, BC.
The song-catching circle often begins with this song. It's called Humbly. It's a land acknowledgement adapted for the Okanagan Silt people. In Summerland, dozens of people have gathered together at the local Baptist church. They're blending their voices in song while finding fellowship and inspiration.
I throw a song out, you catch it, and then we sing all together. What kind of feeling do you have when you walk out of the room after a night like this?
Oh, energized, especially a night like this with so many people. I tell you, the power here was terrific, and there were some stunning harmonizers here. There was fantastic stuff going on at that end of the room.
This song is called I'm Just Fine.
All voices are welcome, and the songs are easy to catch on to and sing right away, even if the singers have never heard them before.
I'm just fine, just as I am.
That's something first-timer Fallon Palm appreciates.
I like how Yanti is so intentional with her song choices. The lyrics, I like she said, defiantly joyful. I love that.
And those song choices are intentional. They come from the Ubuntu Choirs Network. It's believed that the Ubuntu spirit reminds us that what defines us as individuals can only be achieved through our relationships with others.
I really like the uplifting songs that speak to the heart. I think it's really important for people to be able to use their voices, and I find that there are so many people who silence themselves. It's nice to unleash your voice in community. It makes a big difference.
An act of courage that is defiantly joyful. Yeah. Kimberly Davidson, CBC News, Summerland.
Country music hits have been consistently topping global charts lately. The genre was once considered exclusionary, but now it's become mainstream. So what's driving the surge? Back to Garba Salasso looks into country's unexpected cross-cultural shift and whether it's here to stay.
It's a big year for Josh Ross and country music at the Junos. The artist is tied for the most nominations with 5. And when it comes to the Fan Choice Award, 5 of the nominees are either country artists or have country-inspired albums, including Shawn Mendes.
There was suddenly a groundswell of country music in the world.
Sean Everett has had his hand in some of it. He's up for 2 Junos after working on country songs for Maggie Rogers, Casey Musgraves, and Beyonce.
I'm mixing 40 country songs in the next month and a half. So I don't think I've ever even mixed 40 songs in a month and a half in my life, period, let alone of one genre.
Mackenzie Porter feels the wave of interest too.
I'll talk to my friends who live in Vancouver or places that wouldn't have your normal big hubs of country fans, and my friends will be like, have you ever heard of Chris Stapleton?
The artist nominated for Best Country Album partly credits the boom to the music's storytelling.
You're hearing less and less songs about drinking in trucks. That's a little bit out now, where I feel like the stories are just real life stories.
The music's rise in popularity may also be attributed to real-world events.
Every time you turn on the news, you're hearing these scary stories. What's going on in the U.S.? What's going on the other side of the world? Country music has always been the genre where you can sit back and feel comfortable.
These country music fans are all for the surge in interest, but question its staying power.
Things will come in and out, but that's okay. Enjoy it while it's here.
I think that it will stay just as popular because line dancing is becoming more and more popular too.
Magda Gebrselassie, CBC News, Toronto.
And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.
In your once stolen vehicle in West Africa.
That is crazy. Jumped in a car and then off they went.
I want my truck back.
300% increase in auto theft.
300%.
It's organized crime, well financed.
They are selling vehicles that are insecure.
They're working on it.
We hear that from a lot of automakers.
Yeah.
We think we found your car.
Oh my goodness.
Earth is our collective home. That makes us all family. As family, we strive to love and protect each other. Diversity of species is our strength. We are all connected. We survive and thrive together. We celebrate many things this season and make many choices. Taking care of our family should be the easiest. We're in this together.
Does public transit really need more police officers? And so this is it.
Welcome to the Greenbelt.
It is now believed that Titan was destroyed. It makes sense that they get a larger share, or does it?
All of this, just single detached homes.
Yes.
What do we know? How is that even possible? Well, with a little bit of help, I think we can explain it.
About that with Andrew Chang.
One good scheme deserves another.
Stay on him.
I feel we may be in for a challenging few days.
Cheers. Cheers.
12 new records for a penny.
Sounds too good to be true.
It's not a scam. Cancel anytime. It's all in the fine print.
You're going to end up on the hook for a lot more.
You think I'm stupid? I used your name to sign up.
What do we know? I think we can explain.
About that with Andrew Chang.
General Brock is dead. Americans hold the heights.
We are
but 100 men. They are thousands.
Sawadis. Our future was determined by our oath, not the Americans. This land does not belong to them. Comrades and brothers, remember the fame of ancient warriors. Let not their numbers frighten you. I know in my heart, before the sun falls behind these hills, our enemy will have fallen before you.
Well, look, can we hold them?
At the Battle of Queenston Heights, 80 Grand River warriors, including John Norton and John Brand, held off the Americans for hours to help take back the heights.